The Arizona Senate race has come into the media spotlight now that one of three contenders has dropped out. Kari Lake, Republican former television anchor and close ally of Donald Trump, is the likely opponent against Democratic Congressman Ruben Gallego. The incumbent senator, Kyrsten Sinema, who left the Democratic Party to become an independent, just announced she's not seeking a second term.
The only political victories that matter these days are symbolic. Attacking your opponents on cable news or social media. I believe in my approach, but it's not what America wants right now.
Joining us now from Arizona, Kari Lake, the Republican frontrunner in the Senate race. I'll start with a horse race question. Does Kyrsten Sinema dropping out help you by turning this into a two-person race? And do you agree with her, at least in part, about politics being broken?
Yes and yes.
Okay, next question. No, go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead.
Let's move on. No, let me expound a little bit on that. I think the polling initially was showing that she was taking a little more from me, but as we've been watching the trends in the polling, it was starting to show she was taking more from Gallego. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. We were prepared to go in a three-person race or toe-to-toe with radical Ruben Gallego. And I guess now I can fire everything toward Ruben Gallego, so it might make it a little bit easier that way. But I respect the courage that Kyrsten Sinema, Senator Sinema showed when she helped save the filibuster. And for your viewers who don't understand what that means, although I'm sure they do, with the filibuster, you have to have 60 senators vote.
It means everything in the Senate.
Legislation.
Yeah.
It means everything.
So,
and she showed courage in saving that. And without that, if Ruben Gallego were to win, the filibuster would be gone. D.C. and Puerto Rico would become states. They'd pack the court with 5 to 10 additional Supreme Court justices, and our country would be gone.
Well, let me jump in. You've been saying that you are putting out an olive branch to people who didn't support you in your run for governor. New York Times says you're mending fences. So have some of these conversations been difficult, reaching out to people who you are at odds with?
I don't find it difficult to pick up the phone and call people or meet with people who I don't disagree with or that I don't agree with on everything. That is called being an American who wants to, engage in discourse and solve problems. And so I've reached out to a lot of people, and guess what? It's going wonderfully. So many have not only said, oh, absolutely, do I support you? How can I help? And that's the attitude we have to have going into the next 8 months to save our country. This isn't just a normal election. Let's face it. If we give 4 more years of Joe Biden or the destructive Democrats, I don't know how much longer we can hold on. I'm here in southern Arizona. I've been campaigning across southern Arizona the last several days. And I'll tell you what, the people are with us. They are with President Trump. They're with America First policies. Well, I've talked to independents.
We'll see how that works out. But I did want to ask you about this tweet from the other day. Because it's sort of in my alley. There's no salvaging the fake news, you wrote. They are the enemy of the people. These propagandists have brainwashed millions of Americans for decades. So how did you go from spending a quarter century as a Phoenix television anchor to having such a harsh view of the news business?
Well, I think it's real obvious. I mean, I worked as a fair and honest journalist. I think, Howie, you and I probably came up in journalism at the time when we were taught to put the facts out there, tell both sides of the story. If there's 3 sides, put all 3 sides in and leave your opinion out. But something really seriously changed over the years, and especially during COVID, when there was no pushback against the government really taking away our liberties and freedoms. And so I walked away from a 7-figure contract in the news. I said, I'm not going to be part of pushing propaganda. I'm not going to push half-truths because those are lies. And now, I thought at that time the media had hit rock bottom. It has dropped about 100 floors down since then. It is so bad right now that I believe the American people are waking up to it. And every day when someone wakes up and realizes that they've been lied to for so long by the news media, they're never going back. They're never going back to being a consumer of that news.
There is certainly a credibility problem. Now, you took a whack at Nikki Haley when she dropped out against your guy, President Trump, describing the humiliating loss and referring to her by her Indian first name, Nimrata. Nikki is her given middle name. Some people were disturbed by that. Why go there?
I think that it's time for her to, she vowed that she would, when she did step out, that she would get behind and back the nominee. And this wasn't just a minor loss for her. These have been historic losses since Iowa, since the Iowa caucus. We're talking record losses. President Trump is winning in historic fashion, and she backs out and doesn't live up to what she said she would do, which is to support the nominee. We've got to get behind our nominee, President Trump, and we have to save our country right now. I like people who live up to what they say they're going to do, and I know that eventually she'll hopefully do that. I wish her nothing but the best, but we have to get behind our president, because this is between President Trump and Joe Biden, and the differences in those two could not be more stark. It's open borders with Joe Biden. It's dangerous streets. It's an economy that's in free fall. It's World War III with Joe Biden, and just the opposite: secure borders, safe streets, great education for our kids, and world peace with President Trump.
Now, obviously, you were also controversial in challenging your gubernatorial loss, but rather than looking backwards, you said in your last campaign you didn't want the backing of John McCain and his supporters and family. Meghan McCain has rather emphatically rejected your outreach effort. Is it too late to mend fences on that front?
Well, that's not what I said. That has been a quote that's been twisted and turned and spun and reimagined by the fake news media from 2.5 years ago. I think it's never too late to mend fences. I believe in forgiveness, and I believe that it's important to ask for forgiveness, and I think that I've done a very good job at doing that. I would love nothing more than to have the support of every single voter in Arizona, and I have reached out to the McCains, and I've asked them, I've asked Meghan McCain to sit down and have a cup of coffee or have lunch together. We both are mothers, and as a mother, I'm horrified by what the future looks like right now for my children. I'm sure that Meghan McCain feels the same way, that she looks at the future with Joe Biden and is horrified by what she's seeing.
I have to
so
jump
I'm
in.
always willing to.
We only have a minute left.
out.
I'm sorry to rush you. You in the past have been an outspoken opponent of abortion, calling it the ultimate sin. But now you've told NBC that Arizona's 15-week ban seems reasonable, and you told the New York Times you don't support a national ban. Is this an evolution in your thinking?
No, I'm not. I don't get to decide what the law is. That was decided by Governor Doug Ducey, and I am not running to make those laws. That was made by the legislature. I'm not running for the state legislature. I'm running for a federal office, and so that is the law that's on the book. And I think that that's more reasonable than some of these other laws that we're seeing in other states. What we have to do, Howie, is concentrate less on how many weeks and what the law is, because we're going to have 50 different laws around the country.
Right.
And we need to focus on giving women more options so that they can make a better, more healthy choice, and we can see them realize the beauty of becoming a mother.
Right.
Now,
we are unfortunately out of
they
time.
offer one choice.
So let me give you a last sentence here.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks for having me on. And for people who are out there, this is a critical race. The road to the White House and the road to the Senate majority goes directly through Arizona. We're looking great in the polls, but we could use help. If you're out there and you want to get involved to save our country, go to KariLake.com, find out how you can get involved in my campaign, make a donation. Thank you so much, Howie.
Thank you, Kari Lake. After the break, President Biden's State of the Union. Most of the pundits liked it, but how much will voters care?
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.